And this is an issue that we do need to start having a conversation about in our community and in our country. And as Jan Karen said, and by the way, thank you all for coming and sitting so patiently tonight. Really, really appreciate it. This is a subject that has to be talked about. And it has to be talked about on a local level because we are a democracy, and we inform and should be informing our federal leaders about what we want to talk about. And you know, as since I've been on the council in 2008, we have been in a budget crisis. We had a CDBG report tonight on the funding and the spending, and they're talking about who they had to cut out, who they couldn't help, and who they could, and they couldn't fund as much as they wanted to from different places, such as the Futures program, such as CHUM, places like Lifehouse that aren't getting as much as they ask for because the money isn't there. And the money isn't there, quite honestly, because we went into wars that were unfunded. You know, Councilor Stauber is right about his history, his Vietnam history. He knows it well, he lived it, and I lived it in a different way, but you know, I don't dispute your history, you're absolutely right. But what is happening here now is that these wars have been unfunded for the first time in American history that I can remember. We went to war without raising taxes. So that money had to come from somewhere, and it did. The money to fund those wars came directly from domestic spending. And you know, if you wonder about it, got this information from Mr. Hamre from our planning department. In 2002, the city received, and this is not adjusted for inflation, the city received $3.6 million for CDBG funding. That's in 2002. And in 2012, it received $2.1 million. And he said, if the federal government does not fix this fiscal problem, and if they are not, if the funding isn't received, they're going to be cutting it another 7 to 8%. So that'll be from $2.1 million in 2012. We can expect $150,000 less coming to our community in 2013. Yeah. This is about what's going on. We are not the federal government, as one of my colleagues said. We are the city government, and we are city government officials that are stuck right now not being able to plow our streets, having to close fire halls, having to cut fire, we still don't have recreation specialists in youth programs in our parks department, and we just voted to raise our taxes so that we could get our library hours back, and we didn't have our library hours for several years. And if we can do something about this and start a conversation, saying to take a look at that. I listened to our Senator Klobuchar the day after the election, and I was floored to hear her say on a morning program that we were going to have to cut Social Security and Medicare, and she referred to them as entitlements, and which really is, I have a problem with that, because as all of us have done, we have paid into our Social Security, we have paid into our Medicare, these are earned benefits. And she said, we're going to have to cut these entitlements. There's going to have to be a balanced approach if we're going to cut taxes for the rich. And we're going to need the Republicans to be with us, because we're going to lose a lot of Democrats because they don't want to cut. And I thought, we're hearing this from our Democratic senator, and I expect leadership from her, and I certainly expected more from her the day after the election. And so we hear them talk, and they say, well, we have to, cut these entitlements. That's all you hear in the Beltway. And people think, well, I don't know. I think there's other things we can cut, and I know, and I think one of the great things that Minnesota ASAP is doing, and again, the Arms Spending Alternative Project, is they're telling people, yes, it's okay to have this conversation. You're right. You are not wrong. The people in Washington don't know something we don't know. In fact, we know something they don't know because we have to try to do as much with less. And for any of us who have lived in Duluth and know how important our street plowing is and know the condition of it, this is the connection and this is a chance to do it. Councilors asked me what was going to happen to this resolution if we pass it. And, I think this is a win even if whether it passes or not. And I certainly encourage all of you to support it. But I understand those that don't. This is Minnesota ASAP is committed to do an outreach plan. And for local groups, and they're going to schedule office visits with members of Congress and or their staffers. They're going to participate in the meetings, and they plan to share ASAP's list of endorsers from throughout the state and including handing them a paper copy. And they're also going to inform them of the U.S. Mayor's endorsement of a similar resolution. And they're going to encourage members of Congress to read these resolutions on the House and Senate floor. And to that end, Congressman-elect Nolan has been sent a copy of this resolution, and we are hoping to hear from him soon about endorsing it because he has shown support about this in the past. So there is going to be action taken, and probably more than that, but this is just what I know about what's going to be done. And I think one of the speakers said, I think it was Scott, that said, this is a project that has legs. This is a project that matters to people and resonates. And as you can see, all of you here tonight, and a very mixed group of people supporting it. And, I'm very heartened by that. So I'd urge you to support it. Hope I answered any unanswered questions you might have had about why I brought this forward. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Gardner. Go ahead, Councilor Fosley.
Thank you, President Hartman. I just have a question of why you wouldn't do a petition for this, and then you could have different counselors and staff and everybody else signing it instead of bringing it to council like this. This reminds me of like Stop the War a couple of years ago, and I don't think that went anywhere, to tell you the truth. Or illegal aliens, that one came up. I remember that. Councilor Stauber, I get the concept, but I think the reason that we go to war is to protect our investment. We give all those countries foreign aid. It seems to be the reason we go to war. I mean, why not send letters to Kim Jong and tell him to stop sending missiles out, or send to Iraq and Iran and Hamas and everywhere else? And everyone we give foreign aid to, please don't fight. Then we wouldn't have to go to war.
Thank you, Councilor Fosley. Go ahead, Councilor Gardner.
Thank you, President Hartman. And just in response to Councilor Fosley's suggestions, I think if you look on the Minnesota ASAP website, you'll find that they have a number of actions that they are taking, and this is just one of them. And then I would like to remind councilors that St. Paul and Minneapolis did pass similar resolutions tailored to their communities, but with similar wording and very similar sentiment and resolution. So,
thank you, Councilor Gardner. Any other councilor comments? Seeing none, I just want to remind folks, as I announced on the agenda session, I will not be voting on this resolution due to professional reasons, so I will be abstaining from the vote. So with that, I will bring this up for a vote. So all those in favor of resolution 639, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. No. Resolution 639 passes 5-3-1.